Tatsuro Taira had a big weekend. He's now 16-0 overall, 6-0 in the UFC, and he just finished a former title challenger in Alex Perez. Then he grabs the mic and calls out the champ, Alexander Pantoja. All boxes appear to have been ticked. Let's hear what the experts think. Danny, your reaction to the fight and that unfortunate TKO injury.
Yeah, it sucked. It was a good fight. I think Alex Perez had won the first round. I think officially on the judges' scorecards, they agreed it was a competitive fight. It looked that whole card was kind of boring, to be honest, and that fight was kind of making up for it. And then it ends that way. It was just a big bummer. But I'll say this: I feel like the broadcast was very weird, and everything after about it was just weird. Like, why is he calling out Pantoja if Perez beat him in the first round and then lost by injury? And then the broadcast was saying he was going to be the next champion and this, and then he got a bonus for performance of the night. Like, I get pushing, the Japanese fighters because there's not much representation right now, and it was once an important market for the UFC. And again, Taira is very promising. I'm not saying he's not, but man, I don't know. I don't know. I guess I want to see more of him. I think a lot of people are saying like, oh, he's going to fight for the belt in 2024. Oh, he's the next title challenger. Oh, he's the next future champion. That's what the broadcast was saying. But I just want to see more. And I don't think this fight with Alex Perez kind of proved that to me, that this guy is bound to be the next champion. So to me, he's still a little bit unproven. But again, solid prospect here. Let's see what's next for him, but certainly would want him to fight another vet like Alex Perez down the line.
Mm-hmm. Goes, what did you think, man? You've watched a lot of fights over time. Rarely to see an injury like that, high profile as well. It sucks because Alex Perez has had a long periods of time off due to injury and other reasons, and then he just did 3 fights like in 3 months. And now I don't know how long he's going to be out, but what were your thoughts on that main event and the injury?
Like everybody else, I wished more of the fight would have played out because it did seem like it could have been compelling. But with Taira, like we still have so many questions. I agree with Danny what he said about the broadcast. They were making you feel like this was the second coming, and this kid's good, but we need to see more. I know that the O at the end of his name, that carries a lot of weight, right, for any fighter, because it's difficult to have that many wins and no losses in mixed martial arts. But at the end of the day, we're going to look up and down that resume. And right now he needed a name like Perez on there, but he needs another one. And so for me, I think he needs to face one of them veterans first before we can really start to say, okay, Pantoja, you might have your hands full. Because if you look at Pantoja and look what he's done, he's gone through some really good fighters. And I think he's going to be able to maintain here. But what it did do is it probably put a lot of pressure on a guy like Mokaev, right? Like his performance. He needs to really go out there and get the job done, not just in the cage, but what he says afterwards with the mic, because the UFC likes to kind of push these guys here and there to push other fighters. So I think there's some upside with Taira, but I still just need to see more from him.
Yeah. And by the way, it goes, I think the end to his name is not a no, it's an A. It's Taira. So just sorry for the dad joke. I'm getting older.
Hey, real quick, goes, Steve Erceg was only 3-0 in the UFC, and he got a title shot, and he did well. We doubted it. It probably wasn't the right choice, but Taira just beat a title challenger, 6-0 in the UFC, 16-0 overall. Why do you feel like you need to see more before he competes against Pantoja? This is a shallow division.
It is, but I just need to be tested a little bit more. Like, because honestly, look, the flyweight division, how many times are you really buying pay-per-views because of them, right? They're kind of like that appetizer that goes with your meal. No disrespect, even though I kind of just did, but you need to see more. You need to be really excited about what's going to happen. And I don't know that we have that from Taira. I haven't really seen that. I mean, have you? Are you that excited over him?
Well, like I say, the Erceg fight opened my eyes. Once you get 2 men and 2 women in there, especially undefeated fighters that I guess I can't remember if Erceg's undefeated or was undefeated or not going in. I think he was, but going in, you're just like, man, I mean, he still hasn't been checked. Yeah, Taira, you're right. Perez is really the only notable name at this point versus like if you look at Mokaev, who has like 6 less fights overall, but the same amount in the UFC, it seems like he's fought more name recognition type fighters. But unless you've been checked, I mean, look, dude, I never thought Topuria was just going to lay it on Volkanovski either. You know what I mean? And he did. So I'm excited about it. I think Mokaev and Kopp have a big fight coming up at UFC 304. And if one of them makes noise, okay. But I think I would just go with this guy, man. This guy's just kind of like the hot hand at this moment.
Over a guy like Mokaev?
Well, Mokaev just struggled with Perez in March. He had his chance to kind of shine, and he didn't. So I think that's what hurt him. Remember, I wasn't a fan of the Usyk matchup, to begin with, but I think that's just kind of what happened. Whereas Tatsuro Taira, he won. He won. He got the finish.
I got mad love for you, but you're tripping, man. The winner of Mokaev and Kopp has to fight for the belt next. Taira's not even close. Farah, please speak some sense into this man.
Well, listen, looking at the landscape of flyweight, I do agree with Danny here. I do think the winner of Kopp and Mokaev should be next. It seems like Usyk and Kai Kara-France are fighting at UFC 305. But Taira's win, regardless of the fashion it came in, is probably going to make him replace, I'm assuming, Perez. The rankings haven't been updated yet, but let's say he does and he's in the top 5. I'm assuming they're only going to want him to go up from here. So I definitely think he needs one more. If they want to continue to push him, you've got a Brandon Royval, you've got a Brandon Moreno. If they're down for that fight, I think if you can get past one of those guys, then sure, it will warrant a title shot. But I think off of that, against Alex Perez, I'm not saying he wasn't going to win the fight. I thought he looked good, but I just think the unfortunate injury for Perez happened a little bit too early. It's not like it was 4 rounds of dominance, then it happened. So I think one more fight, and especially that we've got Kopp and Mokaev fighting. Mokaev felt like he should have gotten the title shot over Usyk against Pantoja, and he didn't, and now he has to fight Manel Kape. So I think that fight should be #1 contender.
I feel like Max Cady here. I'm getting jumped by all 3 of you. So let me actually, Max Cady wound up winning the fight in Cape Fear. So let me retort. He's 16-0, guys. Usyk got a title shot, 3-0 in the UFC. Why wouldn't Taira get one at 6-0? He just beat a title challenger. And remember, the UFC loves it when someone from a certain part of the world that has a rich sporting history or combat sports history shines. Like I would say, I see them as going, hey, this is our chance to blow up Japan. I don't think I'm that crazy here.
I don't think you're that crazy, but you're a little bit crazy. Because
don't
look,
forget.
If Taira was like going to war and like he dropped Perez and there was an injury and he's got this crazy power and it's like, okay, he's far more exciting than Mokaev. Sure, Mokaev might deserve the fight better, but like, yeah, we got to sell tickets here. Let's make the fight with Taira. But Taira does the same thing that Mokaev does. Maybe he's just a little bit more jiu-jitsu based, but he's still just a grappler at heart. So I think you got to go with Mokaev. And again, I understand your logic in terms of, look, Usyk got a title shot. Why can't Taira? And I think that's fair, but it was also different circumstances then. Now we have a clear #1 contender fight, in my opinion, with Mokaev and Kopp. And the winner there should fight for the title, man.
Mm-hmm. Politics can play a lot in the game too, as well. But don't forget Amir Albazi, right? If he has some kind of update for us on his injury, he's also a player too. So it could, the more and more I think about it, George, if politics maybe play into the game a little bit, yeah, like why not do something like that? I don't know, but there's a lot in front of him, man.
I like one of the Brandons. Whenever Moreno's ready to come back or Royval's ready to get back into it, then I like Taira taking on one of them. But if I'm Taira, I don't fight until I watch that fight in Manchester. Kopp's had troubles with the scale, and Mokaev just kind of laid an egg in his last fight. Really, Mokaev should have fought Pantoja, but I think he just didn't look great against Perez, so they went past him and went with Usyk. So the UFC has shown us they can go with the hot hand. Fada will give you the last word.
I was going to say, George, you can fly Taira out to Manchester, and he can be there in case one of them pull out.
Hey, he'll be down. He's a G, man. I like Tatsuro Taira. Dude, I never thought Kyoji Horiguchi. I thought he was a gem. He was 7-1 in the UFC. His only loss was Demetrius Johnson, and he actually speaks really good English. I couldn't understand why the UFC parted ways with him. Yeah, I think it was around the time when the flyweight division almost went bye-bye. But still, that guy has been a G at bantamweight. and at flyweight, arguably, and I know some of you are going to laugh at me, especially Kazushi Sakuraba fans, that might be the best MMA fighter ever to come out of Japan.
I agree 100%. And they got to get his ass to the UFC. He wants to go to the UFC. Ryzen seems to be content with letting him go. And correct me if I'm wrong. He's still like pretty young. He's like what, 31, 32 maybe?
Something
He's
like
not an old guy.
Yeah.
Get him to the UFC.
Exactly. All right, here. Let me see. I lost my train of thought here. So I think we've already kind of covered this really good. I'm going to sneak this question in from the chat because it comes in over and over. Forrest Daniels won't let it go, but I've encouraged it, so I'll address it. Question for the panel: do you think the new UFC gloves are preventing Koss? I imagine Josh Koscheck finger pointing. I don't know. So it sounds like he's old.
KOs, I think.
KOs.
Oh, KOs. I thought he meant Josh Koscheck. He could get accused of that as well. Look at the cards since they've been introduced.
Wait, was Koscheck an eye poker? I don't remember.
Well, someone else asked, was there only one finish? Josh Wallace says, was there only one finish the whole card? There was 4, I think, but I think 3 were submission and 1 was the TKO stoppage from Tatsuro Taira. So I would answer this by saying they did do a run through all of Dana White Contender Series. I think it was 7 or 8 weeks, 5 fights. I think they went through like 50 or 70 fights was their sample size. And plus, they've only been through 3 events. I think it's just too early to really tell. But all I've heard is positive feedback, man. They really went into this whole science of the glove itself to prevent the eye pokes, to protect the hands, but to still retain the ability to clean clocks. So I just think it's too early, really, to opine. Pada?
Yeah, I'll say, how about this? If Pereira and Prohaska doesn't end by knockout, then maybe we can start gathering some statistics.
Yeah, I think that's the ultimate test, yes.
When did Oldberg have his? Was he at 301? I think so, right? That's when they started in New Jersey?
That's 302, the new gloves, 302.
Oh, 302? Okay, yeah.
301 was Brazil.
There's been some pretty good ones. So I
I'll tell you what, they're not preventing eye pokes. There's been eye pokes every event, man.
Yeah.
There has been eye pokes every event, that's for sure.